Hello, my name is Lu Qinghe. This video is a critical reflection of a teaching episode for EDFX348. I completed my third placement at Marceline College during the 17th of February to the 6th of March 2020. Marceline is an all-boys Catholic school. My teaching method for this placement was maths. At Marceline, they have a system called depth course, which allows students from Year 9 and 10 to study the same subject at one time, according to their abilities. Therefore, in the classes of a depth course, the previous knowledge of students and their levels of ability may vary. In this reflection, I will reflect on my teaching of a single period of the depth course, More Than Mr. Pi, which was at the 5th week in Term 1. This lesson was conducted during my final week of med placement. Therefore, I have already taught them for 1 week. I was able to get an idea of the range of levels of ability the class has. The topic of the lesson was logarithms. I set up my laptop and wrote the learning intentions on board before the lesson starts. Then my mentor led the students into the classroom. I started the lesson with checking on their homework and asking if they have any questions with their homework. There was one student who had trouble with one of the questions, therefore I quickly explained that question to the class. I then gave students the handout on logarithm definition. I allowed students to have 3 minutes to have a look at the handout and discuss with their partners. This lesson had 3 learning activities and 1 informal assessment. Firstly, I went through the PowerPoint and starts from questions about index and explained that index is the same as logarithm. I then had questions on the slides. Firstly, I got a few volunteers to do the first few questions. Then I randomly picked 1 row of students to answer the rest of the questions. Secondly, I had a quiz on quizzes, which helps students to self-assess their learning and consolidate their knowledge. Overall, these 2 activities went pretty well. When I randomly picked 1 row of students to answer the questions, I noticed that most of them understood the content, while only 1 student had some trouble with it. I then quickly explained that question. Thirdly, I had a group activity for the class. Students needed to get into groups of 2. They can cut up the text boxes. They needed to make correct mathematical statements using the text boxes. The purpose of this activity is to help students to find the logarithm laws and its relationship with index law. Vygotsky's social-cultural learning theories suggest that collaborative learning can be a powerful strategy in the classroom. It helps students to identify gaps and misconceptions in knowledge. In addition, it challenges students to a higher level of thinking. Instead of telling them the logarithm theories, it would be more challenging but fun to find out the rules themselves with their peers. Since this class was one of the high-achieving classes, students were more than happy to have challenges on math. Moreover, according to the Bloom taxonomy, the higher levels of thinking are creating and evaluating. This activity requires students to test different mathematical statements and then produce logarithm laws. Therefore, it requires them to evaluate and create. This allows students to be creative and use their previous knowledge to solve new questions. This activity went well. Students were collaborating to work out the correct mathematical statement. There were multiple correct answers to one of the questions. Students working on that question came up to me and asked me about it. It clearly showed that students were actively engaged in this activity and thinking about solving the questions. At the end of the class, I prepared a quick informal assessment to assess student learning. I gave students 10 seconds to talk to their peers before I randomly called on 5 of them. Each student were to answer 1 question. Overall, this class was a high-end math class. Therefore, I did not have too much trouble with behavior management. My mentor told me that the majority of students in the class are really willing to learn math, and they learn pretty fast. I initially prepared another worksheet for backup, since I was suggested to have backup activities for this class. However, my mentor also suggested me to get students to write down notes rather than just seeing or listening. The design of these 3 activities allows students with a diverse learning needs to learn this content. According to multiple intelligences theory, there are a total of 8 intelligences. In this classroom, the various learning activities assist a range of students learning. Logical mathematical learners can learn by solving the problems. Interpersonal learners can learn through collaborating with the others. And spatial learners can learn through the quiz and the second activity of using the text boxes to form a correct mathematical statement. In addition, my mentor also indicated that since this was the second last period of the day, it's better to do the quiz at the end rather than the beginning. I need to be mindful of the energy level of students. Overall, I enjoyed the experience of teaching the Year 9s and 10s. The students were keen to learn math. Before I took this class, I did not expect them to finish the content so quickly. I was surprised about the learning abilities of this class. Therefore, I prepared more activities for the rest lessons of the class. Thank you for watching my video.